Well, it's been dubbed Liberation Day yesterday at the White House. The tariffs put into place. The president imposing a 10% tariff on all countries effective April 5th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time. And then, of course, imposing individual reciprocal higher tariffs on the countries with which the United States has the largest trade deficits. There's obviously a massive risk here for the administration, but Donald Trump has had this belief for, frankly, 35 years. So we will see how it pays off. He campaigned on this as well, and it doesn't really come as a huge surprise, but still, the markets are very jittery. Liz Claman, the Claman Countdown every weekday on Fox Business is here. Liz, what are you hearing from the Wall Street folks right now on yesterday's press conference and what's to come in a couple of days?
Well, who better to turn to, I think, than the Wall Street Journal? And the headline right now online, they're using terms like blitz. They're saying Trump tariffs aim to bring down the curtain on the era of globalization. And they are showing all of the foreign markets that opened overnight. They are tanking. There is no way to get around that. Japan, the Nikkei 225 down 2.25% because Japan got hit with 24% tariffs. Now, remember, Japan's a pretty strong ally of ours. Europe is down dramatically. The French stock market, the CAC 40, is down pretty significantly, anywhere from 2 to 4%, depending on which time you're looking at these in Europe. And I will have to say, though, that what people are looking at is that it was starting off out of the gate, a blanket tariff of 10% on all foreign goods coming into the United States. I mean, if the Antarctic were selling us ice, 10% higher tomorrow. Any country, any continent, you're all getting taxed. But then what's surprising, I think, to a lot of Wall Street companies and Wall Street analysts is that, say, for example, Cambodia, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, back when the first Trump administration went after China and said China was the worst actor, stop buying your things from China, move your supply chain out of China, they did. And they went to countries they thought, these are American companies, the countries that they thought would be safer. Cambodia, let me tell you where that tariff stands. They got slapped with a 49% tariff yesterday. Vietnam, 46%. Sri Lanka, 44%. Bangladesh, 37%. Thailand, 36%. So what's interesting, though, if we go back to China, China already has an existing 20% tariff on any of their goods coming into the U.S. President Trump slapped an additional 34%. So you're talking 54% on anything China made. That's going to hurt names like Walmart. They import so much from China. That's going to hurt any company that buys even parts from China. China's come a long way when it comes to manufacturing. It used to be a bunch of junk. Well, I talked to a bicycle maker in New Jersey, the last existing U.S. bicycle manufacturer. They assemble and manufacture here, but their really important parts come from China. And he's been working with certain distributors for 13, 14, 15 years. He has good relationships with them. This is going to be a problem, and he's considered a smaller business. He's very worried right now. But if you guys wake up this morning and you look at your 401ks, be careful because futures, the Dow futures, down 1,096 before I jumped in the car to rush to New York City to get right in front of the cameras here. S&P futures down 184, NASDAQ down 715. The markets do not like this, Pete.
Yeah, they don't. So what do you make then of the disconnect that is really grown over the last several years between Wall Street and Main Street, and now this crosses political party lines where, listen, a growing part of Donald Trump's base and the Republican base is a working class party more so than it's been in a very long time, and Trump's taken a gamble here that this will pay off politically and pay off for the working class in this country. I mean, I know that you're well aware that disconnect exists. So how should that be factored into the equation here, since Trump is gambling on this paying off for that sector of the economy and the Main Street worker?
I'm not going to. No one, anybody who tells you what the tariffs are going to do, does not know. We don't know yet. So I'm not going to do that. But I will say, if you go back to Alexander Hamilton, and he said, legacy is planting a seed for a tree you'll never live to see, right? Because it takes that long to deal with. President Trump has said, I am looking for a longer-term fix to what has been our decimated in manufacturing base here in the United States. He sounds actually like a Democrat in a way, because remember, it was the Democrats who talked about the fat cats on Wall Street doing so well, and then the little guy wasn't. So President Trump has sort of grabbed that narrative, but then really done something dramatic about it. But here's the question: will it result in what he would like to see? And that is, will that force U.S. companies to start manufacturing in the United States? It takes a minimum of 3 to 5 years to build a plant. And they spent the last, let's say, 8 years trying to build in Mexico and Canada, where President Trump told them to by forging the USMCA contract. That deal was signed. I was at the G20 meeting in Buenos Aires, Argentina, with the three amigos, the presidents of Canada, the Prime Minister of Canada, presidents of Mexico, and, of course, the United States. Donald Trump, Robert Lighthizer, his trade guy, was there beaming. They talked about it being the greatest thing for the American worker, and now there's a rug pull right out from under American companies' feet, and foreign, too. Audi, all those guys built in Mexico. And suddenly we don't like that thing anymore. So this is a really tough landscape for businesses to maneuver, and certainly for investors who have retirement funds and they're close to retirement. They are going to see at least a short-term hit if you just look at the futures right now. And by the way, February 19th, the S&P hit an all-time record, and just something like 16 days later, it went into correction because of all the tariff threats.
So what about...
Tariffs don't have a good reputation, Pete.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Scott Bessent, of course, Treasury Secretary, well-respected guy, long history on Wall Street. He obviously joined the administration knowing full well what his boss wanted to do on the tariff front. So how is he maybe calming things or trying to calm things behind the scenes? And how much of this do you think is also a play to say, hey, the president is using America's leverage to try to get better deals on these tariffs in other parts of the world? How much of that do you think is a short-term play to renegotiate some of these deals, and how is that being factored in or not being factored into the equation here?
Well, they're taking a very big risk, but it factors into the equation because the Treasury Secretary has said, hey, we're open to negotiation. They're thinking and certainly hoping that these countries will immediately come rushing to the United States and say, let's make a deal, we'll cut our tariffs. Problem is, they've had a 3-month head start since the president started to threaten this. And I mean, we talked about this on the show yesterday with Michael Pillsbury, who has been the president's whispering ear, right? He knows everything about China. He worked in the Reagan administration. I mean, he's no newbie. And the president turns to him and he said, Liz, Japan, Korea, and China are already working on an alliance themselves. Canada already is about to greenlight a pipeline for liquid natural gas to go to its west coast to export to China. The question is, are we driving our friends into the arms of our rivals? And again, takes a long time to build a pipeline, folks. We'll wait and see. People would rather, I think, countries would rather be friends with us. I would certainly hope, not an autocratic nation, and that people will start to try and negotiate. But I have to tell you, there's not a lot of goodwill here. Part of that, let me give you an example. Israel. The president is a big supporter of Israel right now. Yesterday, proactively, preemptively, Israel announced with much flourish, we're cutting all of our tariffs that we have on American goods coming into Israel. They woke up at midnight and found out that no good deed goes unpunished, Israel was slapped with a 17% tariff. Again, after thinking, oh, we'll get in his good graces. No, that didn't work. So everybody's annoyed, furious, at least the foreign countries. Unions are thrilled. American unions are thrilled. They're saying it's about time.
Mm-hmm.
But we shall see what happens with layoffs. We just got this is kind of retroactive, rear view mirror looking, but Challenger Grand Christmas, which looks at all the layoffs every single month, they just said that layoffs jumped to 274,000 last month, and that's up from 100 and I don't want to speak out of turn, but 150,000.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a little bit of a tremor here. Who knows if the earthquake is coming?
We will watch. We will wait with bated breath, and we'll be following and watching the Claman countdown coming up today, 2:00 Central Time. You got anyone good booked yet, Liz, you can share with us?
Oh, yes. For those of you who are now worried about your retirement accounts, Frank Bisignano he's an elect, right? He's nominated by President Trump to run the Social Security Administration.
Oh, that's
which
good.
We know has a lot of problems, but nobody wants their Social Security touched, especially now if their retirement funds are going south at this moment. Okay, so
yes.
We've got Frank Bisignano, and then the TikTok story. We have Frank McCourt, the billionaire, who's still in it. He wants to buy the U.S. assets of TikTok. By the way, it's supposed to be banned by Saturday. So we've got him, and then we've got a bunch of money guys because, folks, listen, let me just say one thing. We're looking at a big sell-off, at least at the moment. That could all change by the final hour of trade. Why? Because smart money is looking at this as a discount and time to buy. I can guarantee Warren Buffett is picking up stocks today because they are cheaper. So if there's something that you had wanted to buy, but it was too expensive, guess what? It's probably cheaper right now. So you get to decide if you want to get your shopping bag and start picking up things on a discount.
Well, you tell Frank Bisignano we said hello. He was the freshman year college roommate at Baker right here in Kansas of our producer, John Anthony. So it is a...
Come on.
I swear to you. Frank may not remember John. John's got the day off today. But yes, they were freshman year roommates at Baker University here in Kansas. They got stuck together.
Okay, I will ask him that. I'm writing it down right now. As I'm driving, children, don't do what mommy's doing.
Don't do it. It's actually John Vogelsmeyer. John Vogelsmeyer. So share that name with Frank Bisignano. See if he remembers John. John's got some great stories about Frank back in the day he can't share on the air, by the way.
We love our Frank Bisignano. He's just, and he's a business guy. Ran Fiserv. Wall Street, was a bigwig at J.P. Morgan. He's just a great human being, but he'll tell it straight.
That's great. Well, thank you for everything, Liz. We'll be watching today at 2:00.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pete.
See you later. Liz Claman on KCMO Talk Radio.